Big Bad Toy Store does have Frozen Shin on order, so make sure you check out the link in the description down below.
Oh, G14, come over here quick, look what's happened to Shin.
Oh my Edwards, what, he's frozen now. Does that mean it's over? Are we finally free from ear destruction?
Oh, I don't know, but I have to say this much, that means I'm gonna get more spotlight on the channel.
Oh, wow, that guy's Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It is Steven here, and today I am bringing you another MonsterArts Shin Godzilla review, and it is the repaint everyone has been waiting for. Sarcasm there. We do have the MonsterArts Godzilla 2016, the fourth form Frozen Where's the box? I can't even... Yeah, anyway, a super long title. It's Shin when he's frozen at the end of the movie. Spoilers, obviously. But the main draw for this one is we finally have an action figure of the little things that pop off of Shin's tail at the end of the movie. Yeah, that's a humongous draw here. Now, something to keep in mind, folks. This is the fourth time they have released Shin Godzilla in the MonsterArts line. Of course, the proper fourth form. And not only have folks been getting tired of this guy, but it's also for something that we see within about 45 seconds of the movie, and it's frozen. It doesn't move, and it's an action figure. The big issue many have had. And with a price tag of about $140, is this figure worth the purchase? I know why you're here, so let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. It wouldn't be a Shin Godzilla review, especially an MonsterArts one, if I didn't have some issues. But let's not talk about that just now, and let's talk about the cool stuff here. So Bandai did a really awesome job creating a nice grayscale Shin Godzilla where he does actually look frozen to the core, almost carbonite, if you will. Shin boasts a very, very saturated gray with a very, very light gray dry brushing. To be honest with you here, some folks think that this guy is blue, and you know what? If you were to use the color droplet tool, you might actually be surprised on that one. Anyway, the eye paint is really nice because it is nice and painted white over, so this way there's nothing that they can mess up there. But of course, in the simplicity of everything, there have to be a couple of issues. But the main draw are definitely going to be those guys up on that tail tip, which we will be taking a look at in just a little bit. And I'm going to be honest with you here, simplicity is not going in this guy's favor. So obviously we do have the head sculpt here. Everything does look nice. You know what that looks like, and the paint is done exceptionally well up here. It almost looks very close to a prototype, even though not exactly to this specific one's prototype. Also, something that I may have noted that... did they file down Shin's teeth? It kind of looks like they didn't bother separating any of the plastic here, and it's all just one piece. Anyway, something that has been pointed out to me is that it's been apparent that some of these fourth form Frozen versions do not have the top segment of their neck shaded at all, but the bottom one, it is. And on mine, it does appear that, well, the bottom portion of the neck segmentation actually made up for the top part not having as much. Moving on down to the main chest of Shin here, we do have some fantastic shading, which looks very nice. We are able to see all of the skeletal-like features of Shin's chest. Very, very cool here. And the arms leading up to the hands, they look ferocious and they do look deadly, as if they would normally on Shin, except for this time, they're gray. Moving on down through the rest of the body, down to his thunder thighs and his ginormous crotch area, unfortunately the shading starts to take a little bit of a turn for the worse here, and that it does look like a very amateur effort where they just kind of dipped the paint a little bit in the brush and just did one pass over and said it was time to call it a day. It does look very, very, well, rushed, to be honest with you here. It doesn't look quite professional. However, leading down onto the toes, the left one more so than the right having a better shading feature on it. Yeah, it does actually look pretty good aside from that issue. So good on you, Bandai. Even though the feet and the toes aren't exactly equal, with the left one specifically having a hair on it, they do actually look pretty good. This won't stop the dorsal plates from looking fantastic either, and I'm not being sarcastic on that one here. The dorsal plates really do look great. They look almost like dead coral reefs, if you will. Is reefs the right one? Would it be coral reefs? I don't know. Anyway, the dorsal plates look fantastic, and the details in there are really something to take awe at. The sculptors absolutely did phenomenal here, and it is the best part of Shin Godzilla. Moving on to the tail, we do have some spotty shading here and there, with some segments having much more than others. However, on mine, there is one spot where the dorsal plate should be that is... Wow, that is really white. It's got a lot of paint on that one, and as you can clearly see, no other segment of the tail where the dorsal plates are at has anywhere near that amount of dry brushing for the paint, so good job on that one. Now we're going to go all the way up to the tail tip, and I do have to be honest with you here, from a distance it does look pretty fine. Nothing really to complain about. When you get up close, the actual shading of that bright pink orangish color that's used in there for the fleshy tones of Shin, unfortunately, it does clash horrendously with the rest of the design of Frozen Shin, whereas if you were to reference the actual still shots from the movie, it does actually blend in well. Here, it is a stark contrast, and to be honest with you, it does look like there was no attempt made on some of the smaller humanoids, which one of mine was broken, by the way. He doesn't have his hand inserted into Shin's actual tail there, and he's not leaning his back as far as he should, but anyway, it doesn't look like there was any sort of unification attempt here for the paint of the flesh tones to be merged in with the frozen coloration. Aside from that, though, it is amazing to see the amount of sculpted detail they were able to get into the tail, specifically for the smaller Shin humanoids, giant warriors, whatever you want to call them. They do look really great, and to that extent, I do have to give them bonus points for that, so not all is lost. So in summation, the paint Bandai still cannot, for whatever reason, get it right on Shin Godzilla, but when it comes to the sculpted details, they did a phenomenal job here. Unfortunately, the maquette coloration of Shin is still the best painted Shin Godzilla on the market. So, just like the sculpt, the articulation for Shin, well, it hasn't changed that much, except for some of the joints do feel a little bit more tight. Not so much like the Shin Store, G Store, whatever you want to call it, the maquette coloration version of this guy. So let's just go on a quick run through of the articulation, so this way you have a refresher, where we do have a ball joint up here for this top half of the head and a ball joint for the jaw. That all is connected in on a ball joint system that connects here for the neck, so this way Shin can move his head down like that, move up about that much. We do have a couple of ball joints here in the mid section for the ab crunch and the waist, so this way Shin can rock from side to side like that, lean about that far over, and get corrected up about that high. Now, like I said, some joints are tight. You can hear him squeaking, so I would not want to accidentally pop that joint off. We do have the little ball joint system here where the shoulders here are ball joints, right? So you can wiggle them around a little bit. Then we do have the biceps which plug into them. They are double access or barbell style ball joints. Then we do have the ball joints here for the elbows, and then for the wrists as well. Those are indeed ball joints. So this way you can move Shin around and get him into a couple of neat poses, not karate chopping and, you know, flying across the room doing a kick, though his leg articulation is pretty nice. We do have ball jointed hips. We do have, well, ball jointed knees, double to be exact, with a hinge that's in there. And then we do have ball jointed ankles, so this way you can get some neat poses for Shin's legs and ankles, such as having his legs be pretty far back and having his foot bent like so, or moving them far up and then bending them out like that as well. So the leg articulation for Shin is very nice. You can go out about that far as well. For the tail, we have ball joints all the way up to the tip. And thankfully, much like the Awakening version and the G-Store maquette color version, whatever you want to call that one, this one doesn't like to fall apart, which is good. Very good. The only thing that I will say that is the major change in articulation will be, for obvious reasons, this section up here. This ball joint, yes, you can pop it out, much like you can for the Awakenings version, but I would not recommend you do that. Reason being is that after I just popped it off, because I had to do a couple of things here and there for the pictures for this review, I noticed there was a stress mark on the barbell portion, like the middle, between the two ball joints. So you do want to be very careful here for this section. It's not really intended to move too much, so they really made this ball joint section tight. So overall, Shin's articulation is pretty much identical. So to the previous releases. So once you get your frozen Shin in the best pose possible, you leave it, and then he stays frozen. So that's good. Now, the one thing that I will say is that he doesn't come with any accessories at all, so I'm not going to do a 360 rotating spin with, something else, which is kind of a bummer because there are easily a couple of accessories they could have thrown in, whether it would have been the first form, which would have just been on a tail with a little bit of articulation, a couple of ball joints. That would have been nice. Or we could have gotten some trucks with the little bendy straws. Well, those are outlawed now, but so that way you can stick them into the mouth of the normal Shin Godzilla 4th form version that they released. So this way we can sort of like have a recreation of that scene. I don't know. Maybe some drones or something for Awakening. Maybe some back lasers. I don't know. But they didn't include any accessories here. And that is a real bummer. Anyway, now we're going to move on over to the size comparison, which is going to be very short, sweet, and to the point because chances are by now you know how big this guy is. So here are maybe a couple of figures that have been released since Shin's initial release for size comparisons, so you can get an idea of how he sizes up. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Got to be completely honest with you here, folks. This is a recreation of Shin from an iconic scene in the movie where he is frozen and we see the non-giant god warriors emerging from his tail tip. And if that doesn't appeal to you, then quite frankly, you've already made up your mind on this figure. If you've been maybe interested on this one, I do have to say that even considering the release circumstances, I don't think they really did all that fantastic of a job. Yes, they did release a gray Shin that has some cool shading here and there, but as you saw, there are some spots that are either not shaded, there are some spots that are super overly shaded that the surrounding areas simply don't have shading at all, and yeah, I have broken Shin humanoids on my tail, so that's great to see there. And of course, I have hair on the figure. So that being said, par for the course for Shin Godzilla. If you do like Shin, you want to be a collectionist, and you want to buy them all, then you know what? Go ahead and place your order, except that you're going to get some issues with this guy, and then try to argue that for $140 you got your money's worth here. I would say, unfortunately, I didn't. But at the end of the day, I do have a nice, rounded off, completed Shin collection. So with that being said, I'm okay with it. Not amazed, but I'm okay. At the end of the day, though, I can say this. Bandai cannot do anything more with Shin Godzilla in the SH MonsterArts line. There's not another thing they... Son of a bitch. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links, like the credits for this video, and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.